Hi team, welcome back to the track house. This is Tenzing Tuesday. We have a 40-minute session today, and it's going to start off with a 10-minute easy warm-up, and I will talk you through what the session is in a second. First and foremost, let's get into our 10-minute nice easy warm-up. Start your watches. Let's get moving. Nice and easy. 10 minutes. Oof, here we go. So we're going to do a progressive run today. The reason I love progression runs is that over the course of 30 minutes, we are going to do nothing but increase our pace. So it's going to get quicker every 2 minutes or so. And this is an incredibly hard thing to do because we don't actually get to slow down. But the reason I love it is because we can start nice and easy. So it's a really casual way to get into a run. But let's just talk about our little warm-up. I'm going to start with a very slow jog. And when I say very slow, I literally mean, nice and easy. I'm just trying to roll. Part of the warm-up jog is just trying to roll off the whole of the foot and come up onto your calves a little bit. And that's super important. Get some kind of muscular work involved by asking your calf muscles to take some of the strain just by rolling through the whole of the foot. When we run, it's super important to roll off that big toe, just to roll off it completely, especially during a warm-up. And we start nice and easy. So 10 minutes, nice and easy to warm up. And then our session is 30 minutes, and we call it a progressive for the simple reason that our speed progresses for every 2 minutes for 30 minutes. This is the trick, though, and this is the important thing, and I need you to understand this. It needs to feel really easy at the start. If we go too hard at the start, by the end of the 30 minutes, we're going to get to the point where we have to slow down, or we can't increase our speed. And that's not the aim. We don't want to go there, right? So this is why it's so nice. It gives you a chance. This is why I love it. Because your body gets to adapt to it. Because we slowly make these little changes that means that it gets quicker. And it's really good because by the end of it, the last 5-6 minutes are the only point where it actually should feel difficult. And we actually use this kind of running style and running to test fitness. So if you've ever done a fitness test, basically you just keep increasing the pace, and that's how you find out your max heart rate and your VO2 and things like that when you're hooked up to the machines. But for this purpose, we're just trying to simulate the fact that we don't get any recovery. We don't get any chance for our heart rate to lower. So if we look at our heart rate throughout the course of the run, it should just increase the whole way. That's our aim. Maybe the last 4 or 5 minutes, it should flatten off as we can't really increase the speed too much. But, and I just can't stress this enough, be easy on yourself to start with. Okay, team, let's get into it. Still got, 6.5 minutes of this warm-up. Full body check. How's the body feel? Ask yourself this. Every time you head out for a run, I want you to say to yourself, how does my body feel? And then I want you to go through and check, full body check. And I always start from my feet up. How do my feet feel? When I say feet, I literally mean, any impact. Does it hurt from the bottom of my foot hitting the ground? How does that feel? I'm on a treadmill. This is super easy. It's comfortable. I love it. I love running on a treadmill. One of the few people that are crazy enough to kind of think that treadmill running is easy. I love it. Anyway, ankles. Ankle mobility and support. If you're outside during this warm-up, just think, how does it feel? Use this opportunity to just roll your ankles a little bit whilst you're doing your slow, easy warm-up. When I say roll your ankles, I don't mean sideways. I mean, try and leave your foot behind you a little bit more and roll through. Use your knees a little bit to get your a bit more ankle flexion as you run. Nice thing to do as you warm up. Try and stay on the middle of the foot. Mid-foot for the warm-up is perfect. That's where we want to be because it engages the calf muscles. You get that neuromuscular engagement, which we're definitely going to be using when we start increasing the speed a little bit later on. And then just look after the so start picking other points as you move up your body. Have your stride, how does it feel? Things like knees tend to find the runner warm-up, if you will, over on the channel. That's definitely mobilizing your lower spine and your glutes and your ITB. Super important, but that's for another time. Hips are really important. How do they feel? They're loosey-goosey. That's what we like. Runner loosey-goosey hips. Shoulders should be nice and loose, arms nice and loose. We throw our arms around a little bit, look like, boxers heading to the ring. You'll see high-end athletes kind of doing this before, during their warm-up, before they do these big races. Just keeps their shoulders nice and relaxed. Make sure they're not holding any tension in the top of their neck. Nice, soft shoulders. Okay, how does your pace feel on this warm-up? I've started nice and slow. I'm just going to build it up a tiny bit. Nothing crazy, but as part of the warm-up, I always think it's really nice to start nice and easy. 4 minutes left before we get into our 30-minute session. Always keep my warm-up kind of that first mile. I very rarely go hard on. I use that as my chance to loosen my body up, see how it feels. And I'd encourage you definitely to do the same. If you are looking to push a bit harder towards the end of this progressive run, maybe you use the warm-up section just to start throwing a few strides in there where you're doing 10, 15 seconds, just building the pace up a little bit. But for the most of us, let's start nice and easy. Focus on just how our body feels. Time on our feet. Thinking about things like engaging our core. It's a funny thing to talk about, tensing your ab muscles when you're out running, but it is super important because it keeps our hips nice and strong. Make sure our pelvis doesn't tilt. Make sure that our lower spine isn't taking too much pressure. It's that core engagement, that strong stomach. It's very important. This is what you learn at the track house, this kind of stuff. So Tenzing Tuesday, this is the second session that we've done. First was a pyramid session. This one is a progressive session. So the first one, the hard part was in the middle. We did those longer pyramids in the middle. If you haven't done that session yet, go and check it out. It's a good one. But this session is all about the hard part coming at the very end. Again, it's a 40-minute run. So 10-minute warm-up, 30-minute progressive. But this part, the hard part, really only builds for the last 4, maybe 5 minutes as we increase the pace towards the back end of the session. 2-minute warning, guys. And I say 2-minute warning, but this session starts nice and easy. So unfortunately, you just got to listen to me chat at you as we build into it. But what I want you to do now, with like minute 40, minute 35 seconds to go before we get into it, is just think what your starting pace is going to be. And if you use heart rate or something like that, make sure it's nice and easy. If you do have a way to check your heart rate, you don't want to be too excited at the start because we're only going to get faster. It's only going to get harder. There is no slowing down. There is no backing down. We are just going to improve our speed, increase our speed as we go through this next 30 minutes. So if you go off too quick at the start, A, you're going to have to hold it for a longer period of time. But B, when we get to the end of the session and we want you to bump, that's when it becomes a bit of a trouble. 60-second warning, team. Breathe deep, nice and relaxed. Progressives, definitely one of my favorite runs. And I'll tell you why when we get into it. But 40 seconds, and we're going to find a nice comfy pace. At the moment, we're in that warm-up mode, nice and easy, kind of just, if anything, just a little bit above a walk. It's super slow, nothing to worry about. 20-second warning. Okay, team, what I'm going to start talking about, or what you're going to hear me say, is bumps. When I say bump, I mean just nudge the speed up. 10-second warning. This will be the first bump, I guess. 3, 2, 1. Pick your start speed. Nice and easy. I'm not going too aggressive. I'm going to be super conserved. We'll find that we have to be a bit more purposeful with our breathing, and we've got to concentrate just a little bit. We're into the session. Okay. When I say bump, I mean just increase ever so slightly. It's slightly harder to do when you're outside. It's harder to pick your change of speed and make it small and then only increase. So make sure you start, if you're outside and listening to this, as a guide. Every 2 minutes, we're going to bump. So pick a speed. Let's say it's nice and slow at the moment, and then try and increase it by, 5 seconds a K, 10 seconds a mile. Every 2 minutes. And we do that for 30 minutes. Ow. But then the nice thing is, it's just a jog to start with. And that's what we want it to be. If you've gone too hard at the start, towards the end, you are going to suffer. If this is your first ever progressive, be kind on yourself, because you'll learn the hard part of this session is at the end. 30 seconds to go. And then I'm not going to prescribe speeds. Everyone's different. If you are a walk runner, you might find that you are working your way through your walking speeds. So you start nice and easy, nice easy walk. And then you'll just build up to a bit more of a fast-paced walk. And then you'll go into like a real stridey walk. Okay, team. 10-second warning. And then we'll be into our second bump. And they're just going to be small little increases. Super fun session, or super good session. 3, 2, 1. Super good session for a treadmill, because the treadmill takes care of keeping you at the same speed. Bit harder if you're outside. But it's still a good session because it gives you a chance to really kind of start thinking about pacing and how important it is. And the reason, I said I'd get onto it, the reason I love progressives is because it gives you mentally time to get in, kind of switched on, time to really engage with what you're actually doing and what you're asking your body to do. Sometimes you might go out and you might try and do an interval session, and you find the first one really hard because you're not quite ready for it, and mentally you're like, well, this is kind of hard work, because let's face it, it is hard work. But with a progressive session, you slowly increase the speed by small amounts. That way, you kind of trick your body somewhat into basically performing at a really high level at the end of the session. So it gives you a chance to mentally kind of become more and more focused, because the change is only small each time. And that's the important thing. Such a great session to do. And if you haven't done one before, it's going to be fun. But we need to be controlled with it. As you can see, nice and easy. 20 seconds till our next bump. But we just got to make sure that at the moment, super controlled, nice and easy. Rolling off the big toe. This is your 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Little bump. There we go. Small increase in pace. And when I say increase in pace, I want you to increase the number of steps that you're taking. I don't want you to worry too much about trying to increase your stride length. Just try and increase your cadence. Keep rolling. Think about it now. Are you bouncing upwards when you run, or are you moving forwards? I know that you want to be moving forwards because that's what running is. And if you are not rolling off that big toe, if the big toe isn't the last thing to leave the floor, chances are you might be bouncing upwards rather than moving forwards. So think about that now. How long can you keep contact with that big toe, rolling off it to the ground behind you? And it's a fraction of a second that you are trying to keep that foot on the ground for a little bit longer. That's going to drive you forward rather than upwards. Obviously, there's a bit more to it. Make sure you're doing your squats, your lunges, and your strength work, single leg deadlifts, things like that, because that's what gives you the power in your bum that helps drive you forward. Okay, nice. And 30 seconds before our next bump, but good time to think, how's the body feel? We're kind of into a bit of a running phase now, nothing too crazy. It's only really save the hard stuff. You know, what we can do towards the end of the session is make bigger increases if you feel like you haven't quite got there yet. And I will tell you when that time comes. But for now, keep it nice and easy. Small little changes. 5 seconds. 4, 3, and 1. Little touch on the dial, finding myself, small little changes, breathing a bit more, a bit faster. Try and keep control of your breath. You can really control how deep you breathe. Your body will tell you. But what you can do, and what I want you to do, is control how hard you breathe. Your body will naturally choose your breathing rate, but you can change that and breathe a bit deeper. Try and keep it into your body, including the warm-up. So we've got a 40-minute session total, 7 minutes into our progressive. I don't want to get too carried away too early. So feels good. Nice chance to think about how much I'm going to increase my speed each time. But I'm definitely kind of getting a little bit closer to being in that kind of running speed. I'm starting to move out of that really slow, easy jog, and it's definitely becoming like a bit of a run. 10-second warning, and we're going to bump again. Whew. Small changes every 2 minutes. 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Yes, I just made that a little one. I was cheeky with that one. Small little bump, because otherwise, a long way to go. Don't want to get carried away too early. You can't slow down on this one, team. No slowing down. We only increase the speed. So it has to be nice and easy to start with. Feels good. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Definitely getting closer to kind of being in that proper running form. And as someone that can't shut up for 40 minutes, I'm going to be a bit careful about how much I increase my speed. But I'm definitely taking this opportunity to think about how my foot is landing on the ground, rolling off that big toe, landing on the same part of the foot as when I started my run. And that's important, Think about it. Running is very natural. We'll get out there. We'll all have a certain way that we like to run, okay? That's fine. But we can make small little changes that make ourselves more efficient and a little bit better, so it becomes a little bit easier. But ultimately, we want to be strong runners. So we want to make sure that if we start a run, because that's our natural way, we want to end it in that same way, because we don't want fatigue to kick in and our running style to change. Arm drive becomes a little bit more important now. 20 seconds. Whew. Okay, I see how this session's going to go. Just progressively gets faster. You know, I guess my conversation probably gets a little bit slower. 3, 2, 1. Gentle bump, team. Nice and easy. Okay, right, that's 10 minutes done. We've got 20 more minutes. What's that mean? Another 10 bumps? 9 bumps? Okay. I'm at a running speed now. I'm having to worry about being controlled. And because I'm running, I'm having to engage my core. And then I'm worrying about my arm drive. Soft in the shoulders, nice and strong. Luckily, you know, if you're in a gym, sometimes you get the opportunity to catch a glimpse of yourself in a mirror when you run. And, you know, we all kind of look in a mirror and shudder when we see ourselves do something because it's not quite how we imagine. Unless, you know, some of you, I'm sure, are out there with perfect running form. But yeah, it's definitely, it's a good thing because it lets you kind of just have a look and think about things that you might need to change. You might think you're driving your arms until you see yourself in a mirror and you're actually not. So, definitely thinking about my breathing a bit more now that the pace has picked up a little bit. I'm listening into my footsteps because that's a real giveaway on how consistent I am. And I want them to sound the same each time. If you're on a treadmill, it's easy to kind of focus on that. Even if you've got music in, even if you're listening to this, you can still hear your feet hitting the ground. 15 seconds, I'm going to do another bump. Don't get carried away. We're bumping every 2 minutes. So we need these increases need to be small, all right? Don't get carried away because we can't back down. 4, 3, 2, small one. Okay, 12 minutes in now. I don't want it to get hard until we get to the last 6 minutes or 4 minutes, okay? So these little middle section, if you get carried away, you're gonna make it really hard towards the end. And the nice thing about this session is it's a really good test of your fitness because basically we introduce what we call like muscular fatigue by actually doing exercise for 30 minutes, 35 minutes before we start asking a lot from our body. So it's a good way to, you know, if you have a race coming up or an event, it's a really good way to train for the second half of the event. So take it nice and easy, keep building the speed, and then push yourself towards the end. And that's a great training session to incorporate for like a, 3, 4 weeks out from doing a race. The progression. But ultimately, the nice thing about it is that you get to start nice and easy and you get to kind of freewheel your way into this run. And it doesn't ask too much of you too early on. Although I do have a suspicion that if I keep bumping, I'm going to end up going quite quick by the time we get to the end. 15-second warning. It's just going to increase ever so slightly as the speed increases. And I want you to do the same. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Small bump. Nice. Getting into kind of the halfway mark, almost, for this progression into the actual run. So, well done for sticking with it. And as always, now that we're in it, you can't get out. You got to finish it. And that's the nice thing. So we should be able to roll through this part Nice and easy. Let the legs tick over. Start worrying about your breathing. Relax the shoulders. Think about your cadence. 4 minutes. No rest. There's no. You might look at it, it bites you at the end, and we'll dive in for another bump. 5, 2, and bump. Yep. Okay. I can hear it. I can hear the treadmill moving a bit faster. You know, I can hear you guys breathing a bit harder. Cadence increases. Arm drive becomes more important, and we breathe. And we keep that little tense in our core, and all of a sudden, it's serious. We're now serious about our running. Okay, if you've been out there and you're doing a run walk and you're moving into the running phase, I want you to go easy on yourself, but try and hold it, because the rewards will come. See how long you can hold on and increasing the speed every 2 minutes. If you're out there training for a 10K or a half marathon, this is such a good 40-minute session to do that's really going to pay off, because it asks a lot from your body towards the end. So we get good muscular conditioning and good fitness from it, which is not everything when it comes to running. I love a bit of mindfulness, love a mindful run. That's what recovery is. Those moments when you get to reflect and think, why the hell am I doing this? But at the same time, session like this, great for fitness, great for improvement. Okay, think about being strong. Settle in. We're starting to pick a point with our eyes to focus on. 10-second warning before we start thinking about our bump. Meticulous with your foot strike. 3, 2, and 1. Small bump. Okay, starting to become business now. 18 minutes in, 12 minutes to go. Nothing too crazy. Don't get carried away. But there's no recovery. It only gets harder. Stick with me. We've got this. You've got this. Let's get it done. But we've definitely gone from easy peasy lemon squeezy to, okay, I can see where this is going. I can see it's going to get harder. I can see that the last 4 minutes could be tough. Check in with your body. How does it feel? We're running now. We are running. How's it feel? If you're outside, how does it feel? How's your foot feel when it hits the ground? Any parts of your body feeling sore? What can you do to make sure that you don't do anything that's going to kind of set you back? Was there any part of your body that when you started, there was like a little soreness that now has kind of alleviated? Think about that. And then switch back in the room, focus on the run. Quick body check, see how it feels. And then immediately we're back into breathing. Little tense in the core. 30 seconds and we come into a bump again. And then that'll be 20 minutes. We get into the last 10 minutes, which is what, 4 bumps. Okay, we're running now, team. We're getting it done. 15-second warning. Focus, arm drive, soft shoulders. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Little pinch and a punch. Okay, we bump it. That's 20 minutes done. So we're definitely in a running stride now. We have 4 more chances to increase our speed. We're not going crazy yet, but because there's no recovery, it feels harder These little changes begin to feel a bit harder. Holding them, we call it sunk cost. Sunk cost is the effort that you put in at the start of the session. That means that you might as well finish it because you've already got to this point. So it's the stuff that we've already done. We have a sunk cost now. We've done all that other stuff. We might as well finish this session. We've already invested in it. That's the important thing. One more minute, and then we bump again. Left in terms of, but these small little increases every 2 minutes. Yep, it's going to get hard towards the end. Cadence becomes really important. Number of times your feet hits the floor. Think about it. Listen to your feet. Find your rhythm. Roll off that big toe. Something we spoke about earlier. That big toe being the last thing on the ground. Now we're running. We're running, team. So think about it. Are you moving forward? Focus on that. Let that big toe be the last thing on the ground. 10-second warning. Whew. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. In we go. Yes. Okay. No recovery. So this just feels like it gets harder and harder. And I'll tell you why that is. Because it is getting harder and harder. We're at the business end now. 8 minutes to go. Think about your pace. Should be getting not too far off that kind of half marathon pace. And then even for the last 2 or 4 minutes, we want to almost try and hit that kind of 10K pace. So that's something to think about. How fast are you running now? How much more do you have to give? Because we don't get any recovery. Now, it's all faster, and we just build. And this is the back end of a race. This is the last mile of a 10K. This is the last mile of a half marathon, where it gets harder, and you might get slower out there doing your half marathon or doing your 10K. But in this training run, we're going to increase our speed and get faster towards the end. And that's what we're trying to copy. The last mile of a race, when we need to give it everything. We've got 6.5 minutes total time left. And we're going to work for it. 30 seconds, and we come into the last couple of bumps. Okay. We've got 6 minutes to go after this bump. So start thinking about it. How close are you to 10-second warning? 5, and bump. Or are you going to go for it? Are you going to push it a little bit? There we go. A little extra nudge from me. I'm going for it. I feel good. I'm working hard. I'm tensing my core. I'm focusing on my running style, letting my big toe be the last thing on the treadmill. And I'm just keeping my rhythm, starting to focus on my breathing a bit harder. Breathe. Set your breathing pattern. Total to go. Maybe this next bump is the one. Maybe that's the one you're going to say to yourself, I can hold this. Okay? This is when we start thinking, right, this is when the progressive session starts paying off and it becomes the thing. 1 more minute to go, and then we're into our last couple of bumps. Small little increases in speed, but now they make a big difference because we're moving, we're shifting, we're getting it done. Pick your focus point, something to look at. If you're outside, keep finding your spot. Focus on it, breathe, drive towards it. Relax the shoulders, focus on the arm drive. 30 seconds. Whew. I love it. I love a progressive. Eases you in. It tricks you. It's like your best buddy that hands you that double shot at the end of the night. That's it. You don't need it. And it's not going to really change much, but it does mess you up. 5-second warning. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay. I'm cruising now. I'm loving it. Yep. We're definitely running. 4 minutes total left. One more bump after this. How close are you to half marathon pace? Can we hit kind of just off the 10K pace for our last one? What kind of speed are you holding? Okay. Really think about engaging and tensing that core muscle. Arms are going to be moving the legs now. Pick your focus spot. Breathe deep. If you're on a treadmill, ignore the clock. I'm your clock. Let me tell you what to do. Focus on something else. If you're outside, start thinking about your breathing. Push the air out, force the air in. Breathe in nice and hard. 3 minutes total to go. We have one more bump. 60 seconds, and it's our last speed change. I'm feeling my foot turnover. It's quick. Cadence increases. Definitely running. And it's giving me a lot to think about. But I'm breathing deep. Draw the air in hard. Force it out. Your body will set your breathing pattern. You've just got to stick to it and make sure you breathe harder. Breathe deep. Force the air in. Force the air out. Be aggressive with it. Okay. We have one more chance to change our speed, and then we hold it for 2 minutes. 10-second warning. Let's go. Last change. 5, 4, 3, 2, bump. Last bump. I'm going for it. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This is the end of the race, guys. This is it. This is that last 400 meters of a race where we give it everything. So build it in. Set your speed. Hold on. This is just grit and determination. We've got this. Let's go. It's effort now. It's not running form. It's not arm drive. It's just effort. Do everything you can to keep the speed up. Keep moving nice and fast. 1 minute 20 to go. It's all hard work now. It's all about driving. Almost seeing that finish line. Stay strong, put the effort in, and then we can dive into a nice recovery walk. 1 minute to go, guys. 60 seconds. Coming up to the finish line. We can see it. Arm drive, foot strike, cadence. Be quick, breathe deep, and then just work. Keep working. I'll count you down. Don't look at the clock. Don't focus on anything other than breathing deep and working hard. Okay, 30 seconds to go. This is all effort. Finish line comes up, 25. Keep working. This is the back end of a race. We're gonna finish strong. Last 15 seconds. Keep moving. 10-second warning. Work. Don't stop before I say. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Down to a walk. Whew. Nice and easy. Whew. That is a progressive session. That's why it's so good. Just good representation. Makes you feel like you're in that race environment where you're in that last mile. It gets harder as we do it. So kudos to you for sticking with it. Kudos to you for coming and doing it with me. That's a 40-minute session, 10-minute warm-up, 30-minute progressive. If that's your first progressive, like I hope you found it like interesting and a nice new way to train. If you've done progressions before, then, you know, thanks for joining in, because it's always like, they're always my favorite session. So that's me, guys. Done. Tenzing Tuesdays. That's a 30-minute progressive session after a 10-minute warm-up. That's me done. Thanks so much for joining in. Make sure you get a stretch and a cool down in, and I will see you guys next week.